In this English pronunciation tutorial, you're going to improve your English speech by learning the 5 very worst English pronunciation mistakes that you can possibly make. These are some of the rudest and most offensive words in the English language, and yet they sound just like normal everyday words. What happens is with these words, they will be exactly the same as a normal word in the English language, but there's just one sound in the middle of the word that is different. And that one sound completely changes the meaning from something polite to something extremely rude and offensive. This video is going to be invaluable for improving your English speech and making sure that you never make one of these critical mistakes. At the end of the video, I'm going to give you a short test to test your recognition of these words and these sounds so you can see for yourself where you are with your English pronunciation. If you don't feel like your English speech is as good as it could be, or if you feel like you've still got room for improvement, then make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on for English pronunciation tutorials that come out like this on a weekly basis. So the first worst English pronunciation mistake is the word can't, and what people can confuse it with, which is the rudest word in the English language, cunt. Now, I apologise for using these rude words in this video, but it's essential that I do so you can hear how the rude words sound and then how the correct words sound. So, can't as in I can't do this. And the rude word, which is cunt, which is an extremely rude word for a lady's private parts, okay? Now, the rude word in English, it can also be used as a very offensive insult. So if I wanted to say the rudest thing that I could possibly say to someone, I'd say to them, you cunt, okay? That is about the rudest thing that you can say in English. So if you said to me, can I use your pen? And I didn't understand this pronunciation mistake, instead of saying, no, you can't, I might say, no, you cunt. And right there, I've just called you something super, super rude. So the difference between these first 2 words is the vowel sound in the middle. Can't, as in, no, you can't, it's the R sound. It's a long vowel sound, R, R. Compared to that is the sound, which is a short English vowel sound. What I've done, and I'm going to do throughout this video, is I'm linking to tutorials explaining how to make each of these individual sounds above. But now I'm just going to go through and actually compare the 2 sounds. So here you go, R as in can't and as in cunt. R, 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 R. Okay? That is pronunciation mistake number 1. The second worst pronunciation mistake that you can make in the English language are by confusing the 2 words fork, as in a knife and fork, and the word fuck. You've probably got this word in your language and you've probably heard it used in English. People use it all the time. It can be used as an offence to tell someone to fuck off. It can be used as a rude word to describe sex, and it's got many other rude meanings in English. But what you don't want to get confused are the 2 words fork and fuck. So how could you confuse these 2 sounds? Imagine you've gone out for a meal, maybe with your partner's parents. You've met your boyfriend or your girlfriend's parents for the first time, they're English, and you're sitting down having dinner and you've not got a fork. You've got a knife, but you've not got a fork. What would happen is you could say to your girlfriend or your boyfriend's parents, I want a fork. But instead of saying fork or, you say fuck, So imagine now saying to these people on an important occasion, excuse me, I want to fuck. Excuse me, I want to fuck. All of a sudden, you're saying to these important people, I want to fuck, which is like saying, I want sex. It's extremely rude and it's extremely offensive. So the two sounds in question here are or, the long English vowel sound or, and the short English vowel sound ah. Now I'm going to compare the two. Or, ah, or, ah, or, ah. These two vowel sounds come from the same position in my mouth. The main difference here is that for or, as in fork, my lips are rounded. Look at my lips. Or, and for fuck, ah, my lips are unrounded. They're just open. Ah. Okay, so or, ah. Excuse me, can I have a fork? And not excuse me, I want a fuck. Okay, that's English pronunciation mistake number 2. The third worst pronunciation mistake that you can make in English, and this actually happened to me, is the difference between the two words Coke, as in a can of Coke, and the word cock, which is a rude word in English for a man's penis. A few years ago, I was doing a drinks promotion for a company where I was giving out cans of a fizzy drink, and a young girl came up to me. English wasn't her first language, and she said, I want cock. I want cock. So essentially what this person, she was in her 20s, had just said to me is, I want your penis. Now, I realised that she didn't mean that, but that's exactly how it sounded. And because I said, can you repeat yourself? And it took me about 3 times of her saying, I want cock, for me to realise what she was saying. So the two sounds in this combination are o, cock, which is the rude one, o, lips rounded, o, and the correct sound, which is o. Now what you might notice is my lips are moving throughout this sound, o, coke. That's because this sound is a diphthong in English. It's made of 2 English vowel sounds, which is the schwa, the most common vowel sound in English, and as in put, o, coke, coke. I'd like a can of coke, not o, cock, I want cock. Okay, so the two sounds next to each other would look like this: o, coke, o, cock. O, 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 o. Can you tell the difference? Comment below letting me know which ones of these sounds you're finding the hardest and if you can hear the difference. We're now moving into the second part of this video, and the reason why it's the second part of this video is because the next mistakes all contain the same 2 sounds that people are getting wrong. These are the 2 sounds E as in sheep and I as in ship. Now, as an English pronunciation coach, this is one of the most common mistakes that I hear people confusing in English. People say E when they mean I, and they say I when they mean E. So let's look at the worst pronunciation mistake number 4 that you can make in English. It's the 2 words sheet, as in the piece of linen that you put on a bed, a sheet, and shit, which is an extremely rude word in English, and it can be a rude word for saying poo, and it can also be a rude word just to describe something. So if I'm feeling really, really bad and someone says, how are you? I might say, I'm feeling shit, okay? It's a very commonly used word when people are speaking very rudely in English, but you absolutely don't want to confuse it with the other sound, E. So let's put it into context. Imagine you're staying in a hotel and there's not a sheet on your bed. So you call them up and you say, I want a sheet on the bed. But instead of saying, I want a sheet on the bed, you say, I want a shit on the bed. I want a shit on the bed. All of a sudden, now you're saying that you want to do a poo on the bed, and you're using a very, very rude word for it. So now let me put these two words together and then I'll compare the sounds. Sheet, shit, sheet, shit, sheet, shit, sheet, shit. Okay, comparing the two words, we've got e, I, e, I, e, I, e, I. These two sounds come from a very similar position in the mouth. The positions are slightly different, and I've got tutorials explaining the difference between these two sounds, but the main difference between these two sounds, which is the important point that you need to learn, is that one sound, E, is a long English vowel sound, and the sound I is a short English vowel sound. E, I, E, I, E, I. This leads me nicely on to pronunciation mistake number 5. This is the 5th worst pronunciation mistake that you can make in the English language. That is the two words beach and bitch. Beach and bitch. So let's put these two words into context. The beach is something that everyone, or nearly everyone, likes going to. I love going to the beach. I want to go to the beach. If someone said to me, if you could have anything in London that you don't have, what would it be? I might say, I want a beach in London. But what that sounds very like is the rude word bitch. Now, the word bitch actually in English is the name for a female dog. So if there's a female dog, the correct name for that in English is a bitch. But it's also a very rude word to describe a woman. So if you call a woman a bitch, it's like you're calling her a female dog. As you can imagine, that is extremely rude, it's very offensive, and you absolutely don't want to say it, especially in a normal conversation. So make sure that when you're saying beach, it's beach-y and not bitch-I. Let's now compare the two words. Beach, bitch, beach, bitch, beach, bitch, beach, bitch. Okay, again, the two sounds, E-I, E-I, E-I. So those are the 5 worst pronunciation mistakes in English. But I've got one bonus pronunciation mistake for you. Again, it uses these same two sounds, E and I. And again, it's an extremely rude word if you get it wrong. So what is the 6th bonus worst pronunciation mistake in English? It's the two words piece, as in, can I have a piece of cake? And the rude word piss, which is a rude word to describe when you go for a wee in English, or a rude word to actually describe what comes out of you when you go to the toilet. Piss. So let's compare these two words. Peace, as in, I love peace. What do we all want in the world? We want peace. And the rude word, piss, piss, piss. If you've had a really busy day and someone says to you, what do you want? You might say, I just want peace. Okay, that would be the chance to breathe, the chance to relax, because the word peace in English has a few different meanings. You've got world peace, but you've also got peace as in peace and quiet. It means calm and tranquil. But that sounds very, very like the rude word piss. So in England, in London, if you hear a group of men together that are lads and a bit rude, you might hear them saying, I'm going for a piss. It's a very commonly used slang word in English, but it's also a very rude word. It's not the kind of word that you'd want to use in a formal situation. So when you say, I want a piece, you have to make sure that you're saying peace, E, and not piss, I. Peace, piss, peace, piss, peace, piss, peace, piss. So now let's recap these 6 worst English pronunciation mistakes. And then after that, I'm going to give you a test to test your recognition of these mistakes. Word 1 was can't and cunt. Word 2 was fork and fuck. Word 3 was cock and coke. Word 4 was shit and sheet. Word 5 was beach and bitch. And the bonus one, word 6, was peace and piss. I'm now going to read you 6 sentences that contain these words. Some of them are going to contain the correct word with the correct sound, and others are going to contain the rude word and the rude sound. What I want you to do is in the comments below, write down which sounds and which words you hear. Do you hear the right words? Great. Do you hear the rude words? Boo. And let me know which words and sounds you're finding the most difficult. So, sentence number 1. Do you hear ah as in can't or as in cunt? Ready? You can't do this. You can't do this. Or ah. Sentence 2. We're listening for the sounds fork, or, and fuck, Excuse me, can I have a fork? Excuse me, can I have a fork? Sentence 3. O, coke, and o, cock. Comment below which one you hear. It looks like cock. It looks like cock. Which one do you hear? O or o? Sentence 4. We're looking at the word sheet and shit, the sounds E and I. Ready? I want a shit on the bed. I want a shit on the bed. Do you hear E or I? I want a shit on the bed. Sentence 5. Again, E and I. This time it's beaches and bitches. Ready? I love bitches. I love bitches. Do you hear E beaches or I bitches? Comment with your answers below and I'm going to see who's got them right, who's got them wrong. Let me know which words you're finding the most difficult and which sounds you're finding the most difficult. I've linked tutorials to all of these in particular sounds, so if you're having difficulty with any of them, then you can really drill down and improve these sounds for yourself. Subscribe for more videos that come out like this on a weekly basis, helping you to improve your English speech so you sound confident, credible and professional, and most importantly that you never make any of these dreadful pronunciation mistakes. Thumbs up, see you next time.